Only thank you. And we only thank also for the invitation to moderate. For some reason, I'm always preferred for health world conferences. I don't know, although it's not my core business. And I warmly thank the Minister, Madam Barmpetaki, and Mr. Pitsillides for the discussion, because the truth is, and apologies to the lady, we'll start with the Minister, supporting the R&D, innovation, industry, all these that make other countries global powers in their field, in this field, also passes through governmental policies. So, Mr. Minister, could you please codify through the tools and instruments you've got, the development law and so forth, what are the initiatives, programs that you support in order to have a multiplying effect that what the industry can create? Good afternoon. Let me first thank the Chamber for the invitation and for inviting me to have such a wonderful discussion with such distinguished speakers in front of such a dynamic and interesting audience. You know that from the first days when the Prime Minister bestowed on me the Ministry of Development, I had said that the wedge, not only for the Ministry of Development, but also for other ones, for the whole of Greek economy and Greece at large, would be to shape a new production paradigm that will make the country more productive, more competitive. Such a paradigm must entail less of consumption and such kind of expenditure and far more production. And the Greek industry must be the foreground of such an effort. Within the Greek industry, I would like to set aside the pharma industry, the production of pharmaceuticals. Pharma industry is extremely dynamic in Greece, and this is most positive, and we want it further enhanced. I believe that we have exceeded 3% of the GDP. And this is critical. Therefore, what is sought after is what we should do so as to introduce more incentives, new incentives for more investments. Things have been done. Suffice to say that in the program of strategic investments, which is under the Ministry of Development, there are 400 million euros earmarked, invested in the field of pharma industry. Let me point out, however, that we have also introduced very important tax incentives for investing in R&D by new companies, which reach 250% of this cost. This is an excellent such incentive, 350% for SMEs. Of course, we do have the development law that has done mainly to transformation in industry, and therefore can be best be exploited by pharma industry. The specific, however, audience I address, I should point out the following. We have seen multinationals coming here with an important transaction volume in this space, but I would personally prefer to have more plants established here and joint production programs with Greek pharma companies. There are such cases, and this is most positive, of course, but I would really like to see more production lines through partnerships of Greek and foreign multinationals, because this, I believe, is the substance of what I call a new production paradigm and production transformation of Greek economy. We're extremely open, of course, to listen and to pay heed to new proposals of the companies themselves, because this is of critical importance. Well, allow me to intervene here. Of course, you have different experience. It's as if you pass the torch and give me the opportunity to address a question to Madam Barmpetaki. What would you like to ask from the state, Mr. Theodorikakis, sitting next to you, in order to have more iconic investments? Not necessarily iconic. even less prestigious investments, if you like, but which might be having a multiplying effect in the field of medical innovation. And the current production paradigm, is it indeed interesting for a big multinational to come here in Greece, create a plant, have this kind of partnerships? Well, thank you, Mr. Evgenidis. And I would also like to thank the Minister, because we had launched a discussion, who had started with the so-called health talks. So let me take the thread from that point. We had discussed at the time what is, at the end of the day, the value, what is interesting and what is valuable as an investment. So I will remind you, have discussed various developments in the European and global scene. I'm certain Mr. Gikas agrees with me. Do you know which is the biggest value, the biggest capitalization, if you like, company in the world? What will be? It's NVIDIA, 4 trillion. It exceeded Microsoft and Apple. It's a company that evolved from graphics design and realized what was the value of AI and data and entered more dynamically and invested heavily there. It has no plants, it has no production, just minor moves. But this is not the company we think of in the classic view of production as we imagine it. So taking that model on what could be the new production model, for us in innovative sciences and biotechnology, the value we've got lies in knowledge, data, and how we can evolve action mechanisms and produce modalities, which is not the classic model, but they are based on R&D, the research we conduct, and data. So if this is the value we bring along, I would invite us all to think that beyond the plants and Greek industry, which is another part of the effort, we are here to discuss about the value of these new technologies. In the previous panel, we said that in the future we'll be speaking of therapeutic modalities, not the active molecule. We'll have the molecule, companion diagnostics, the device, and monitoring the patient through data and technology. And through AI, we'll make a wonderful circle, and we'll say, and we'll know at the end of the day, what we create will give the personalized medicine for its patient. No single player can go there. We need know-how that is brought along with the innovative biotech companies that we represent here. So my invitation is how this we can bring in Greece, not adopt it really, not own that, but actually through partnership, through the creation of ecosystems, and be a part of something bigger so as to bring it fast in your country. So the question is, how do we invest in clinical trials? How do we invest in data and big data? And how this health technology can brought in faster, and other production paradigm, other incentives. Well, let's conclude the first cycle with Mr. Gikas. One branch of the discussion is pharmaceutical industry. The other branch is the companies offering diagnostics and devices. And I would like to ask you, Mr. Gikas, are there currently sufficient resources and incentives in order to develop this branch in the country? Through community funds available, perhaps, is there production and other programs currently implemented, placing the emphasis on innovation? Well, first of all, let me also point out that I'm extremely glad we've got a minister amongst us, because we all share the precept and the conviction that good health entails development. We saw that during the pandemic. where we realized that perhaps health is the most important infrastructure at the end of the day. So if we secure that, we are certain that we have done an important step. If we come back to our field, having to do with medicine and our industry, we must view this development in a framework which is a bit more intangible for us as well. The medical device doesn't suffice unless it is surrounded by services. And these services have to do with subjects already mentioned: know-how, training, ongoing training, education, ongoing training. And here, multinationals can offer a lot, they already do. The most important companies worldwide have a presence in Greece. We consider that taken for granted, but this should not be taken so. When I came to this company I work now, we almost had 70 persons, and now there are 200. These people also supervise neighboring countries. The same did most countries that are members of our chamber. This is a huge investment, not only in human resources, but also in know-how and attracting skills and talents that are here, based here, they create and produce here. Additionally, these same companies create centers of excellence here. They are not concentrated in one building, for instance, but they're scattered in various hospitals and offer services in the hospitals. Unique centers of excellence for the whole of Europe, and foreigners come here to be trained. And another part, development for medical technology in our sector doesn't have to do solely with us, but the whole ecosystem. Therefore, incentives should be offered to adopt innovation, to have the health providers adopting innovation. And it is there that the ministry must offer the opportunity for these providers to invest in health. Then we will see the health space radically developing. Most interesting remarks by Madam Barmpetaki and Mr. Pitsillides, Mr. Gikas, and I would like to know if you have more specific thoughts on how we'll mobilize more companies, as Mr. Gikas has said, and how we will create and enhance comparative advantages we've got in R&D and innovation. Well, listen, first of all, I do believe in the ongoing cooperation. This is something that can't be dealt with only in the framework of such kind of discussions. I'll give you an example. When I was appointed in the Ministry of Development, because the main financing tools have left this ministry, now it's under the Ministry of Finance. Originally, my partners were distressed that they would have no funding tools, no instruments. When one tries to tie up one's life, one realizes that has far more potential. I do not avoid the question, quite the opposite, but I wanted to tell you that it is there that I realized that hundreds of millions of euros that had been allocated to investors from 2004 and onwards until 2019 were never transformed into actual investments. Let me also tell you that no paper had ever written anything, no opposition had criticized that, because all those who have governed the country have been either government or opposition. I mean, it's an alternation of two parties at the end of the day. So we now stage a battle to take that money back. Until now, we have refunded 80 million euros. It's not to be ignored. I'll tell you why I started this intervention. There was a gap of what I wanted to do, titled New Technologies. which I wanted to be exclusively R&D programs of the companies. Therefore, here's one more specific program and an important incentive, who so wishes, by investing in Greece to exploit programs that enhance far more applied research, leading to boosting production, along with other things envisaged in the development law and tax incentives, and along something else that I consider extremely important from RRF, from the NSRF. I share the critique of the market that the results of the latest NSRF is there is unfathomable delay, but the program was thus designed, and that's why we have the delay. But anyway, I believe that within 2026, with these programs of 300 million euros, there will be results. We also run 370 million euros for our research centers amongst defense and tech, which I believe can host important companies in the R&D department in Thessaloniki. A center which I believe can become broadly a center for technological innovation for Southeastern Europe. And I have committed, due to the huge delays and the irrational way it was launched, I will include it in strategic investments and be solely covered from money of the Ministry of Strategic Investments from the Ministry of Development. It is a strategy, it's a priority for the country, and will do so as for the private and public sector to really coalesce and create a very strong dynamic of biotech innovation. This program for supporting innovation that might be of interest for foreign players that will you be investing? It will be a separate regime of the development law, brand new, which, because we had no money, will be funded by those, but the money will refund back. Does this depend on the proceeds? Well, the maximum is 170 million. That is 150 grants and the rest from tax exemptions. It's not to be ignored. Well, given all that, and on the basis of what the minister has said, the question is whether our country, with its pros and cons, may be, for the broader area, a development hub for medical innovation. Well, I will respond on the basis of what we have discussed. There is an avalanche of developments in Greece and abroad. We have been discussing that, what it means at the level of regulation, politics, and so forth. So at this level, a country such as ours, in order to be able to stand vis-à-vis economies that have been far faster in the past, not Greece, USA, Germany, USA or China, but we speak now of a pharma valley in Belgium, in Israel. We speak of Portugal, which for its level attracts far more clinical trials. So there's huge competition. And this I'm crystal clear saying so, representing a huge company which also invests. But actually, at the end of the day, what does investor look at? Of course, one studies the incentives, but also examines the rest environment of predictability. So, in order to make such a move, all of us, as innovative pharma industries, we definitely need a stable framework of predictability, of clawback and refunds. I suppose you know that the level of investment clawback, this provision existed, but it's not only an issue of tax alleviation, but it's also the core business we're interested in. That's the first thing. The second is to have a framework where a company may be able to make a forecast. What will be the business model for the next 10 or 15 years? And the third is to be able, at this framework of stability and predictability, to find something that will be of essence for us. What we're interested in beyond clinical trials, and we have to have our own resources and enter the clawback offsetting rationale. The second is in exploiting data, health data. This can also be an income for the state. Will it be theoretically easier in the future once we've got the digital file? To what extent it will be accessible to all stakeholders? Yes, that would be a first step. But let us not forget there's a framework of intense competition. So I conclude by saying that this is where we are moving to. Clinical trials, health data, and investment that might be related and connected to this framework of stability and predictability. Thus, we can discuss what we've been saying. So let me address a question to Mr. Gikas. And Mr. Theodorikakis, if you would like to conclude, because we must not exceed the time allocated. The minister raised the parameter of cooperation with the stakeholders. So I'd like to ask you whether under the current conditions, the creation of clusters between academia, universities, startups, hospitals, as leverage of that industry can be led to the development of innovative medical devices. Yes, the minister said that seeks for the dialogue. The committees of the chamber also want that, to be able and share and discuss with you both our ideas, but also the practices and models that we see in all countries where we are present. So it will be with great joy that we experience, that we see this shift, and we view this exchange of know-how and ideas. Now, with regard to clusters, obviously, this is a positive reply. The development, the growth demands, we must offer predictability and horizon to the whole and all the object. The cooperation of universities with academia, when it happens, has a horizon of at least 10 years. We must be able to do this cooperation so as our companies to see Greece as an area where we create new products and ideas. So it would be a great opportunity. Well, the AmCham, Hellenic American Chamber of Commerce, it's not randomized. It represents close relations between economies, states, and companies that have a huge strategy. We do not speak of any chamber, and therefore you've heard directly from my lips what is the potential we've got vis-à-vis our finances. You know what is our experience. Within October, we must put down data and things, see what we can do so as to enhance research, exploitation of pharma industry and boosting this industry. Thank you, Mr. Minister, Madam Barmpetaki, Mr. Gikas, and also the Hellenic American Chamber for the invitation. Thank you.